What is good, YouTube? We're back with another banger, as y'all can tell. It is currently 4 a.m. I ain't gonna lie, we're cranking the videos out, we're cranking them out. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, also my dude's birthday, so I'm not trying to record really tomorrow. If I do, it's gonna be just a little fun video, or I think the celebrity game was tonight, right? I might react to that tonight. Actually, I might check after this video and see if they posted those reactions or posted those highlights. If they did, then I low-key might just react to that tonight and just get it over with and get it done with. But I doubt it. So, and if they have any other like kind of like big somewhat thing, then maybe. But other than that, I'll probably just maybe hop on this hill tomorrow just to react to that. But yeah, enough yapping. We got some different shit. We got some animal type shit. I don't know about y'all, I fuck animals, so I react to whatever the fuck. It is my channel, just like what DJ Ghost be saying, bro. It is my channel, bro. I'm gonna react to whatever I want to react to over here, bro. I feel like it's gonna be a good video. I feel like it's gonna be a good reaction. I'm gonna watch it. Fuck it, why not? And shit, I feel like the most of the videos that I have reacted to, have watched, I don't think I've really had a L video that I picked out. But with that being said, we got 5 animals that have only been seen once. Seems like a pretty good title. It's a good reaction. With that being said, it's probably gonna be the last video of the night. Let's make it a good one. Let's get right into it.
Imagine discovering something that the world has never seen, just for it to disappear forever, never to be seen again. Creatures so rare and so mysterious that we only know they exist because someone, somewhere, caught a single glimpse. From glowing sharks with pockets to red leopard cats, today we're diving into 5 of the rarest, most mysterious animals that were only seen once. Starting with American pocket shark, a shark with pockets. This tiny shark, barely 5.5 inches long, was discovered in the Gulf of Mexico during a 2010 research trip that was actually focused on researching sperm whales. It wasn't until 3 years later that scientists at NOAA took a closer look and realized that they had found a tiny shark species completely unknown to science. And here's the wildest part. This was only the second pocket shark ever discovered. The first one, known as the pocket shark, was caught way back in 1979, thousands of miles off the coast of Chile. For decades, scientists thought it was the only one of its kind. Then, suddenly, the American pocket shark shows up in the Gulf of Mexico. That's just nuts. Now, this little guy isn't your typical shark. The American pocket shark has a round, bulbous, almost whale-like head, a light gray body, and darker fins. Around its skin are tiny clusters of photophores, basically little light-producing organs, which it probably uses to camouflage itself in the deep sea. But the real mystery, and arguably the coolest thing about this shark, are those 2 strange pockets behind its front fins. They're actually tiny little glands, which scientists think are capable of secreting a glowing fluid that could help attract prey or communicate with other sharks. How insane is that? It's like a little shark spraying its own neon-colored perfume at a rave to try and attract mates. No one knows for sure that that's what this pocket is used for, as we've only ever seen one. And that's the thing, that single specimen, a juvenile immature male weighing just half an ounce, that was caught in a deep sea research net over 980 feet below the surface, and since then, there's been no record since. It's been over a decade, and despite countless surveys and trolls, no one's ever seen another American pocket shark. Does that mean it's gone? Probably not extinct, but it does show how insanely little we know about the deep sea and just the ocean in general. These sharks live in the bathypelagic zone in literal pitch black waters thousands of feet down, and humans almost never explore there. They're so small, so elusive, that even if they're abundant in the deep sea,
Hear me out. I would want to go down there and explore. You feel me? A part of me would. And then the black part of me is just like, I'm gonna die. You feel me? Like, I would love to go down there, experience, you know, some different shit. But it's like, damn, bro. I'm gonna be experiencing life, you know, having a grand old time, and then, you know, life's gonna come right behind me called a fucking fat ass megalodon, and then just gulp my ass up. No, I'm good. You feel me? I wanna do all that shit, bro. I wanna fuck around and go. Nah, let me try. Nah.
Never really know it. If we're ever going to find another pocket shark, it'll probably once again be by accident. But until then, the American pocket shark remains one of the most mysterious creatures ever caught. A shark with a built-in pocket, seen once and never again. Now, this next animal is actually a real mystery, and it just so happens to be one of the rarest cats in the world. This is the Galeris cat, also called by some the Norino cat or red tigrina. Sadly, like many of the other species, we don't even know for sure if this animal still exists. All we have is one single skin that was collected way back in 1989 on the Galeris volcano high in the Andes of southern Colombia, over 10,000 feet above sea level. The skin shows a small spotted cat, part of the Leopardus family, but unlike other tigrinas, its fur is a striking reddish orange with black rosettes that are deeper red on the inside. The cat's total body length is around 1.5 foot long, with an almost 1 foot long tail. What's nuts to think is that all of this detail that we have now comes from a single skin, a literal clue. Now, the skin sat in a Colombian institute for decades, initially mistaken for an ordinary tigrina, until a scientist in 2001 spotted some kind of an anomaly and then spent the next 2 decades studying it. Genetic analysis later showed that its DNA doesn't match any other known cat species, and both nuclear and mitochondrial sequences were found to be unique. Can you believe that? A completely distinct lineage, divergent from other Leopardus species 1.2 to 1.9 million years ago, that was quite literally hiding in plain sight all this time.
That's crazy.
Since that collection, no other individuals have been found. Trail cams have been placed all across southern Colombia since 2018 that haven't picked it up, and surveys till now have turned up nothing.
Damn.
Its high altitude habitat is extremely fragmented and under pressure from human activity. So, if the Galeris cat still exists, it's probably in tiny numbers. It could already be extinct, or maybe it's just super elusive, seemingly purposefully staying hidden. So, what would it take to see one again? Scientists would need to confirm a living population. In order to do that, they need to locate additional skins or skulls from local hunters, ideally capture some kind of genetic material to understand its relationship to other tigrinas. Until then, Galeris cat remains a species of cat that we only know from a single pelt that was found
That shit
all
does look cool
those
as
years
hell.
ago.
I was
Next
thinking
up
maybe
is
it was just
the
like
bright
blood or
orange
something, but
gliding
nah,
squirrel
that shit
that's
low-key look like
only
it's like
ever been
too
seen once,
all
the
over the
Namdafa
coat too
flying
much.
squirrel.
Oh,
You.
what?
Just you. Building your app.
Flying squirrel. We said
On base 44.
This squirrel that's only ever been seen once, the Namdafa flying squirrel.
Namdafa?
This is one of the rarest mammals on Earth, found deep in the jungles of northern India. This animal is honestly so incredibly beautiful. It's got this crazy reddish grizzled fur and this white belly, and its patagium, the thin membrane that stretches between its limbs and lets it glide through the trees, is orange. And here's one of the craziest things about the squirrel. So from head to tail, this squirrel is 3.5 feet. That is a pretty damn big squirrel.
Big ass
If you
squirrel, no
imagine that
bull.
thing soaring silently
Fat-ass
over the
squirrel.
canopy at night, it's insane.
Bro,
But
no bull.
not as
Imagine seeing
insane
that thing
as the
fly
story of its
out of
discovery,
nowhere.
which was just fascinating. Back in 1981, a zoologist named Shyam Rukh Biwas and his team was surveying wildlife in Namdafa National Park, which is a massive misty rainforest tucked between India and Myanmar, a place I'd really love to visit one day. And that's when they
No bull, it's
stumbled
gotta
across
be the
a
last
single
one.
specimen of a flying squirrel unlike anything they'd ever seen. Lo and behold, it turned out to be an entirely new species. And since that one sighting, which is now almost 44 years ago, not a single confirmed sighting has ever been made again. Can you believe that? One of the largest flying squirrels in the world, something you'd think would easily be seen if it was up in the treetops, seen once and seemingly
Especially that
never
big.
again. Now, something really cool is that a few possible relatives have popped up over the years. In 2013, researchers found a similar species in Laos, the
Damn.
Laotian giant flying squirrel.
Look, the same
And in
thing, just
2018,
black.
another was described in China called the Mount Galagong flying squirrel. All 3 of these have been tested and found to be in the same ultra-rare genus as our Namdafa flying squirrel. making them
That shit
some of
cool.
the most mysterious rodents in the entire world. As for why we haven't seen the Namdafa flying squirrel again, well, that's the saddest part. The national park that it belongs to is remote, yes, but it's not exactly untouched. There's hunting, there's poaching for bushmeat, ongoing
Damn.
habitat loss from logging, there's habitat encroachment. The forest
Damn.
where that first squirrel was found could easily have been changed since then, but some scientists think that the species might survive in small numbers hidden away in the park's steep valleys and high ironwood forests. But
Maybe.
without proof or any DNA evidence, it's been listed as critically endangered by the IUCN and possibly extinct. However, get this, 2022, there was a glimmer of hope, a possible sighting in the exact same region. Researchers even collected potential fecal samples that they think belong to said squirrel to test for DNA.
Hey.
And if the poo sample turns out to be real and gives us a positive ID for the squirrel, then it could be one of the biggest rediscoveries of our time. But until then, the Namdafa flying squirrel remains a literal ghost of the
That's
tree
cool as
toads.
hell.
Next up, a bird that feels like it literally slipped straight into legend. Meet the Seattle scops owl. This species is a tiny, elusive owl known only from a single specimen collected back in 1866. That's over a century and a half ago. And
Bruh.
since then, there's been literally nothing. Not even any photos, sightings, no calls that can be verified. The only semi-conclusive thing that there's been is stories by locals from one small volcanic island in Indonesia and one old preserved bird sitting in a museum drawer. The initial story behind this owl discovery starts on Siau Island, which is north of Sulawesi, a remote place that was covered in forest back in the day. Sadly, today, most of it is gone, which doesn't look too promising for our little owl. The Siau scops owl was first described from that one holotype that was collected during the 19th century, and nobody's ever managed to find another. It's believed to have lived in the island's lowland rainforest, flying between branches in the dense, humid canopy. Given its relatives like the Sulawesi and the Shanghai scops owl, it was probably a nocturnal forest hunter that fed on insects and small invertebrates and blending perfectly into the bark of trees. However, here's where things get interesting. Some scientists aren't even totally sure what our owl is to begin with. The taxonomy of this owl has been debated for years. Some researchers think it's its own distinct species, while others believe it could just be a subspecies of another Indonesian scops owl. But the problem when you're debating something like that, there's literally only one of that specimen to go off of. You can't exactly run genetic tests or compare behaviors when the only thing you've got is a 150-year-old bird in a museum. All that DNA is extremely fragmented and degraded, and there's not really any help a sample that old can provide. Despite that, there have been rumors. In 2017, a video popped up online of a small owl that was caught inside a building in Siau. Locals swore it matched the description of the Siau scops owl, and the footage sparked a huge wave of excitement among ornithologists and birders. Could this have been it? The first living evidence of the Siau scops owl in over a century? Unfortunately, we don't really know. Even after all the analysis, with tons of scientists looking at said video footage, no one could really confirm it, and it still remains unverified. And since then, teams have gone back to Siau, hiking through the last scraps of forest, setting up nocturnal listening stations, recording calls through the night, putting up cameras, but unfortunately, they didn't get anything. The biggest reason that we haven't seen it again is that the forests of Siau are almost gone. Back in the late 1990s, researchers estimated that only about 50 hectares of forest remained on the island, most of it clinging to the steep slopes of Mount Tamata, which also happens to be an active volcano. The rest of the island had been cleared for farming, logging, and plantations. For a species that probably depends on dense forest cover, that's quite literally a death sentence. Still, conservationists aren't giving up. Various organizations have been funding surveys on Siau and nearby islands, hoping to find just one to prove it's still out there. Because if it is, the population would almost certainly be tiny, maybe as few as a dozen birds at most. But even that would be enough to give the ghost species a second chance. Until that day, though, the Siau scops owl remains one of the great mysteries of the bird world, a tiny forest owl that vanished, seen once in 1866 and never again. Now, this next species is the OG ghost lizard, and there are a few ghost lizards out there, lizards that have been seen once and then never again, or not seen for many years, but the species I'm talking about is the Navassa curly-tailed lizard. This species was discovered back in 1868, and like the other 4 animals we previously talked about, we only know it existed because of one single specimen, and that's it. The whole description of this species is based on that single preserved female that someone collected on Navassa Island, a tiny uninhabited dot in the Caribbean. It had this dark gray body with faint bands running across its back and a tail that faded from pale at the base to deep gray near the end. That seems pretty unassuming and quite ordinary for a lizard, but what made it special was the same thing that gives the whole group its name, that little cute curly tail. You might have seen them in Florida, but curly-tailed lizards have a weird behavior where they perform this curled tail lift. And they do this regardless of whether or not a predator's around, almost like they're showing off. Here's the crazy thing though, that one specimen was all scientists had for over 50 years, until another one supposedly turned up in 1917, collected by a guy named Rollo Beck. However, decades later, when another herpetologist took a closer look, he went, yeah, that's not it. Turns out that the lizard Rollo collected only just turned out to be a completely different species altogether. So in the end, we're back to square one, that single lizard collected 157 years ago. Guys, this is just a small handful of examples of unbelievable creatures that may still be out there that are known from a single specimen ever. There are many more out there, and I'd love to do more breakdowns. So if you like these kind of lists, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll do some more. See you on the
Hey man, W video. I think that's the first time reacting to one of his videos, but I think I've seen him on TikTok or shit like that. But I guess my first time reacting to one of his videos, shit, for a YouTube video. With that being said, that is the end of the video. I give this one a pretty good video. W video. If y'all enjoyed this one, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, bro, it's gonna be the last one of the night. I appreciate y'all for all the support y'all been showing, man. Appreciate y'all for 200 subscribers. We're on the road to 500. I promise y'all, man. After we hit 500, you know we gonna have to turn it up a notch. You know it. Shit, man. I ain't gonna lie. We low-key banged out some videos. Cool 3-4 hours. Banged out some good videos. I'm gonna with y'all tomorrow for that celebrity basketball game one. I ain't gonna lie. Well, I'm gonna check real quick just to make sure, but it is pretty late. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna with y'all tomorrow. I'm yapping. Peace, bro. Wake up tomorrow, get to it, man. Stop bullshitting. Ain't nobody gonna do it but you. You know it.